So what do you do when your students are tripping about tests, whether it's a classroom test or a standardized test? In this episode, we're going to talk about how you can prepare your students emotionally for tests. Let's elevate. Hey, what's up? I'm Kantis Simmons.
And I'm Kelly Harmon. Welcome to Educate to Elevate, the inspirational podcast designed to motivate educators.
This podcast is all about injecting fuels of inspiration to motivate teachers, principals, deans, professors, counselors, coaches, anyone that's in the business of serving students. And welcome to episode 20. And of course, I have my very beautiful co-host that looks like Oprah Winfrey. That's my special co-host, Kelly Harmon. What's going on?
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Well, good stuff. It's good to have you for the second edition of Kantis and Kelly.
Kantis and Kelly.
That has
a ring to it.
It has a ring to it.
Kantis and Kelly.
You know, in our first episode, we talked about excessive testing.
Yes.
We talked about, and I love the comments that the teachers left there, you know,
yes,
different things that they do and how they overcome and the real life challenges they have with testing there.
And the
so
students' responses too, to the teachers. Yeah.
And, you know, in the episode, we talked about some things that you can do as a teacher, as an educator to overcome excessive testing, you know, regardless of what school district you're in, you know, some things that you can do. So if you haven't watched that episode, make sure you go back and watch that episode 19. So in episode 19, we talked about excessive testing.
Yes.
And we had a few more comments there about, you know, the students tripping out.
Right,
so I said, you know, let's continue in that vein and let's talk more so about how we can prepare our students emotionally for testing.
Absolutely.
Now, before I do that, I know you spent about 13 years in education. You know, you started off working for the government Department of Education, right?
Yes.
And you guys had this
in the great state of Florida.
In the great state of Florida, right?
Sunshine State.
And you were dealing with this area of mentoring. You had a huge initiative in Florida there in mentoring.
Absolutely.
After doing that, you fell in love with students.
Yes.
And then you transitioned and you started working in the classroom, working with students.
Full-time teacher.
Full-time teacher in the classroom, and then you fed
teaching journalism,
Oprah, all right, teaching journalism. I think she looks like Oprah. Okay,
y'all chime in and let me know. I don't know.
I think she looks like Oprah, right? Yeah, if you're listening to this, you may want to go over to YouTube or wherever you can watch this to actually see what she looks like. She looks like Oprah to me, a light-skinned Oprah, a caramel Oprah.
I don't see it, but okay. I love Oprah.
Oprah. So, transition from the classroom over into administration.
Absolutely.
And then now, you know, traveling the country, helping teachers better connect with students in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And so because of that today, let's talk about what can we do to help our students prepare emotionally for tests. Now, I know, you know, the 25 years I was in high school, elementary school, high school, grad school, there were tests all the time. And I remember growing up as a young man.
And there still are.
Huh?
There still are.
I mean, right. They're tests all the time. But, you know, a lot of times there are certain signs that I gave off as a student. And as an educator, what are some of the things that you've seen with students to sort of say, you know what, they're dealing with test anxiety. They're having some issues where this is concerned. What are some of those signs that you've seen with some of the students?
Well, the first sign that comes to my mind is kids are going to act out. And as an educator, even as a classroom teacher, as an administrator, one of the telltale signs is when a kid begins to act out, so that they can avoid it. So, because if I'm in your classroom and I know I have a big test coming up and I know I'm not going to perform, my anxiety is killing me.
Right.
So quite naturally, the kid,
so that shows up into behavior issues.
Oh, it translates directly into behavior. And then what happens if I show out in your class and now I get
kicked out?
Yeah, kicked out. So guess what?
I don't think I have to take the test.
I don't have to take the test. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is my scapegoat. So I think initially that's what we see.
Acting out.
Yeah.
What's another thing? What's another sign?
Avoidance. Let's say for that kid that doesn't necessarily have a behavior problem. Well, I can avoid this thing. Maybe I can tell my mom I have a stomach ache. I don't want to go to school. Or I can try to, in high school, kids like to play you because let's say it's a test in your class, but they're going to stay behind in my class, and then I'm going to give them a pass late to your class, and then they've kind of avoided the whole test.
So now they're playing teachers against teachers.
Oh, yes. You see that too, and this is particularly on a secondary level. But that's just one sign of avoidance.
One of the things that and this may be too intimate, but I know when I took tests and I was sort of scared of tests, I had gas.
Oh, yeah.
I realized that it's like, why's my stomach hurting?
Yeah. The bubble guts.
Bubble guts and nervousness.
Yeah.
Sweaty
palms. Mm-hmm.
And, those are some of the signs that I dealt with. And
let me tell you, Kansas, kids deal with that now.
Really?
The bubble guts. Oh, yes. Coming down to the nursing station, blowing the bathroom up. And it's like, well, what is going on?
Right.
It's intimate, but it's very real.
Right. It's real life situation. So I'm pretty sure that you've seen various things that, students go through emotionally where test anxiety is concerned. So what we want to do, we want to cover.
Let's not forget mood swings.
Oh, yeah. Mood swings.
Yeah.
Mood swings. So we got the acting out, avoidance, mood swings, nervousness, gas, sweaty palms, and a lot of cool. I mean, not like cool things, but we see those signs.
Right. So
we
see them.
Let's deal with some of the solutions. Okay. So what can we do to practically help our students prepare emotionally for this test?
Well, I think first off, as a teacher, I have to know my kids developmentally in terms of their levels, and that way I can kind of better guide them when it's time to prep for that test.
Right.
So
when you say levels, like development levels, you mean like based on their GPA or?
No, their performance. Now, I'm new to Georgia. I've been in Florida. I've been a Florida educator for 13 years. And in Florida, just like you all have Georgia Milestone, we have a Florida version as well. And that exam is ranking kids in terms of their proficiency.
So when you're saying levels, you're speaking of
like you may have the level
their performance level.
Performance level, absolutely. Maybe for an example, in Florida, you have a level 1 being the lowest and a level 5 being the highest, and it's ranked for reading and for math. So if we're preparing for a season of tests, I need to know all my kids' levels.
But why is that important though?
Well, because it helps you as a teacher better plan and better give them that support. Right. So for instance, if I have a level 5 student, that kid may not need
as much as
a level 1, level 2.
Right.
And a level 3 is middle of the road. So
if you know your students, then you know how much love to give them. You know how much attention to give them. Because of the levels that they're in.
Yes. And they know their levels too. And with that comes anxiety. So if I'm a level 1 kid, I mean, I've been a level 1 kid probably since grade school. Right. So I'm going to need that additional support.
Right. All right. So know the students. What would you suggest would be a great number 2?
Number 2 is try to convey to the kids to not fear. It's just a test.
Right.
I mean, these tests most of them you have to retake anyway before they let you out, before they commence you to graduation. So let them know it's just a test.
Right.
And while
this is just a test. Right. This is just a test.
While it's just a test, we still want to make sure they can kind of get it the first go round, but let them know there are other options too. You have some retakes.
Right.
So I think with that in mind, they can probably better grasp the whole concept of testing season.
Yeah. I think a great one would be, outside of knowing your students and helping them not to fear, is to really get them to calm down.
Yes.
Be able to, address anxiety, be able to say, how many people are nervous about this test? Let's go ahead and call it what it is. You're nervous, you're scared, you're fearful, you have bubble guts, right? But you want to get them to calm down. So, one of the things, I was working with a school, and we have a great young man here. What is this? His name, Ron
Clark.
Yeah, Ron Clark.
Dr. Ron Clark.
Ron Clark, right?
Has his own charter school.
And I love when they prepare students for tests. They make up songs.
Yes, it's all kinesthetic and tactile.
Motivational chants. And one of the things you probably can do in your school to get your students to calm down, even your class to calm down, is to do something creative in the classroom, so that now maybe it's a song, maybe it's a dance, maybe it's a chant, maybe it's singing the alma mater.
Right.
I remember I had a teacher by the name of Miss Thomas.
Okay.
And Miss Thomas used to make us do a confessional every morning. It was like, I am powerful. I am smart.
Yes.
I am wise. Yes. I am a great student.
Wow, that's powerful.
And it built up the confidence that all year long we were saying, we were believing and doing what we were saying.
Wow.
Okay.
That's powerful.
So,
and I want to add I want to add one thing too. I know as you were sharing these stories, I know when I was talking to my kids about coping with testing, I shared as a teacher, you all know we have to take a series of tests.
Right.
And as teachers, you'd be surprised how many teachers are very, very nervous when they have to take recertification exams. I mean, they would come in my office as an administrator and say, I'm taking a day off tomorrow because I have this test. And it's the same goes for our kids. Let your kids know, hey, guys, guess what? I too suffer from test anxiety. I had to take 5 tests just to stand before you. And that way they can relate. Right. And it becomes more of a situation where they can say, Miss Herman, she's dealing with that too. Okay, right. Well, if she went through it and got over it, so can I.
A lot of times I feel that parents don't keep it real, or adults don't keep it real a lot of times with students.
Okay, with their own kids. Okay. Or that was some good content. We lost it. I like where you were going with that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I found is that a lot of times parents and adults don't keep it real with students.
True.
Students sort of see, adults and teachers and administrators up here. But I like what you said. Go ahead and be vulnerable and let your students know that, hey, as an educator, I was taking a test this summer. I took days off.
Took a test yesterday.
Or, I went through this emotion. I had to take a day off from work to prepare for a test.
Yes.
So you keep it real with your students to say, you know what? You're not the only one dealing with these emotional things here, but as an adult, as your teacher, as your educator, battle with that as well.
Spot on.
Okay, so know your students, not to fret, get them to calm down. And I think another one,
also too, what I wanted to talk about with getting them to calm down. There are some strategies that we can use for anxiety.
Right. Oh, that's breathing.
I mean, that really works.
Oh, all the time.
I mean,
all the time.
Sometimes when I would be in my office and a parent, or, you get into a situation where you just have to take a deep breath. And it really works. Right. And just sharing that with the kids. And some kids it'll come off to them as silly, but it may take the teacher modeling and going back, piggybacking on what you said, telling them, this is what I did when I had to take my test 2 months ago.
Breathing. Yeah. Stretching. Acting silly.
Laughing.
Doing those things. So know your student, not fret, get them to calm down. And I think another great thing is preparing. I love this area of test-taking strategies, right? I know we talked about in the last episode the importance of letting your students know what to expect, right? And so when we talk about test anxiety, when we talk about whether it's a classroom test or a standardized test, being able to talk about certain strategies,
right?
What to prepare for, what to expect. I feel like a lot of times when you go into a situation and you're nervous about the situation, a lot of times it's because of lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Like, so if you don't know what to expect, if you don't know what to look forward to, then you're fearing. It's almost like, remember when we were younger, it's like the boogeyman is around the corner.
Right.
So you're thinking about, the boogeyman is going to get me, right?
Yeah.
But if you realize, you know what? I've seen this before, and there's no boogeyman around the corner, so I have nothing to be nervous about. The same thing is true where preparing for tests. So going through the test-taking strategies, taking the time to talk about whether it's a multiple choice, whether it's an essay, whether it is a fill in the blank. And now they know what to expect, and they can prepare for it and know the proper strategies to use when taking those tests.
And the parameters too, depending on what test it is. You know how some tests, if you leave the question blank, it may not count against you, versus if you have another exam, and I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, like the ACT, the SAT, and you want to let the kids know it's better to go ahead and just do process of elimination when you don't know the answer. But those are some things that can probably push a kid's score up just by knowing that information.
So if they know what to look forward to, then they can better prepare.
Absolutely.
And then that will reduce the nervousness, the fear, the avoidance,
anxiety,
and the gas.
Oh, yes, the bubble guts.
The bubble guts. All right. Let's talk about parents for a second.
Yes.
When students are emotionally out of whack, they bring that home.
Yes.
And sometimes the parent doesn't know, hey, what's going on with you? Right? What would you say, how can we bridge the gap between the teacher, the student, and the parent so that the same thing that the teacher is talking about or discussing at school, that we can sort of bring that home?
Well, we know parents are so busy nowadays, but the teacher would probably want to email these parents and let the parents know, share the testing schedule and let them know, I want the best for your child, and I am going to be going over these things with your child. And if you can, kind of reiterate that tonight or leading up to the exam. But definitely that communication piece from the teacher to the parent. Because if the teacher is doing it and the parent is doing it in the evening, and, it's going to be that triangular effect.
And now we have this culture.
Yes.
We have this culture of confident students who are not afraid of tests.
Absolutely.
We have students who are confident. They're not emotionally tripping out.
Absolutely.
And now they're highly prepared.
Right.
By simply taking, the same things we're talking about in the school, knowing your levels, being able to not fret, not to fear, calming down, understanding the test-taking strategies. And then now, if we can communicate that to the mom, the father, the guardians, then now we have this whole culture where the student now bump into a confident teacher.
Absolutely.
They come home.
And that conversation is constantly going.
Conversation is constantly
going. And the kid knows that we understand where they are. Right. And what happens is that when that teacher emails the parent, because we want the parents to be on the same page with us during the day. And we want the kids to hear the same thing in the evening. So it's going to be very important for the teacher to email the parents all of the things that were discussed to help their child to overcome test anxiety.
Right.
And then what happens is that we begin to open up the door for the conversations.
Right.
And the kid is hearing from the teacher that we're trying to help them to de-stress entering into this testing season. And then they go home and they hear from mom, dad, guardian.
Right. So basically you're saying we've created a culture now.
Absolutely.
Right. So we go from the school, from the teachers, through the students, to the parents and the guardians. We have this whole culture of confidence.
Absolutely.
Whole culture of confidence. So,
absolutely.
We would love to hear from you. Like always, down below, join in the discussion, leave your comments. What do you practically do to prepare your students emotionally for tests?
Absolutely. Let us know what you do.
Yeah, let us know. So go ahead down below. If you've enjoyed this, of course, leave your comment, but also, don't be stingy with this good information. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Share the love. Loving or caring is sharing. Caring is sharing.
Caring is sharing.
So go ahead and share this podcast, this episode with other teachers and educators that you know. And also, be so kind to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're watching this on your cell phone, mobile device, if you're riding in the car listening to this, hey, make sure you subscribe so that every single week You get access to this great content. And by the way, if you've missed any of the episodes, now this is episode 20.
Episode 20.
If you missed, the previous 19, go ahead and go back and, listen to this when you can.
When you can. In your car on the way to work.
Yep. So this is episode 2 for you.
Yes, this is episode 2.
For you.
For me.
For you. All right. So, hey, this is Educate to Elevate. Remember this. I'm Kantis Simmons.
And I'm Kelly Harmon.
And there's only one game in life that counts, and that's your A game. You got it.
I got it. I didn't do the A.
Yeah, you didn't do the A.
I can't do the A little sign.
No, don't. I just do that.
Okay. I'll leave that up to you.
You don't do it.
Okay, all right.
But we'll see you next week.
All right. Take care until next time.